nationally, internationally, and everything else, and just felt like it was the right thing to do to kind of pause communication and engagement. But very excited to talk about international events today and welcome a guest that I've been following on Instagram. I love the content that she put together. There's so many times, Juliet, that you post stuff and I'm like, yes,
thank you.
that's totally what I think too. And, although we've never met before and I've just followed you, I'm excited that you're like, okay, I'll come on.
Yeah, cool. We'll meet someday. It's all good.
Exactly. We can be international Facebook pals, Instagram pals. But I wanted people who are not familiar, maybe that are followers of mine, to kind of know what you've got going on and the different roles that you hold in the event industry. So why don't we just jump right in and have you introduce yourself and talk about your businesses or in roles in the event industry?
Sure. So thank you so much for having me. I'm really, really happy to be here. So firstly, you may guess from my accent, but I'm based in the UK. My name's Juliet Tripp and I am a senior events manager. I work in-house for a corporate company called Chemical Watch, organising international conferences and now virtual conferences, a new skill. But I wear a couple of different hats. Just this month, I launched Event Goal Getters, which is a new membership, community and coaching for event profs to really level up and get to grips with their goals. I'm also a speaker at industry events. I have an event industry blog, and I love events, really. Just to put it out there, it really is my life. I know a lot of us are like that, right? We really throw ourselves into the industry, and I can certainly say that I'm someone that does that.
Well, diving into kind of a couple of your different roles, how did you get started with the corporate event world?
Yeah, sure. So I've been in events for 10 years, which seems crazy to think about it now, but I fell into the industry. I know it's kind of a cliche because a lot of us do, but
totally.
I started working an events job when I was at university in London because I needed a part-time job to, pay my rent and stuff. So I worked for an event agency, event staffing agency, which took me all across London, working as a waitress, a server, on bars, as a floor manager, but at the most incredible venues and events across London, like film premieres, royal palaces, with celebrities, with politicians, all sorts. And it was just so insightful. And from that moment, I knew this is it. Like even the 20-hour days, I thought, I'm going to do this the rest of my life.
And it's kind of fun to be in that setting too. I found myself like with events to just be like, if this is a ticket into this kind of world where you're doing the events, but you get to like be with celebrities in these fine hotels and like great experience, you're like, let's do it. Like it's so fun.
And you get to see all sides, and actually like doing those jobs, you're working so hard and you're not running the event, but you are a very small cog in a very big machine, and it just gives you that insight. And I think, for anyone starting out, it's such a great thing to do. And from then on, I looked actively for events. My background's actually performing arts. So I was doing that at the same time. I worked in America for 3 summers. I used to work at a summer camp as a performing arts director on the Minnesota-Wisconsin border. Oh, awesome.
I worked at a summer camp when I was in high school. Yeah.
Like the best memories. Very as stressful as running events, I'd say, if not more. But very fun. And then just kind of went into a few different roles. So I've been venue side, I've been freelance side, and now corporate side. So I've been in my current role for 18 months now, and I absolutely love it. And it takes me all over the world, obviously, at home right now, safe at home, but it's been really, really interesting. And I organize conferences, so it's very content heavy. There's a lot of programming, but also the sort of venue searching and contracting and working with all the different stakeholders, which I absolutely love.
Yeah, you're speaking my language. I love corporate events. I dabbled into weddings and I was like, no, I kind of like, I like planning meetings. I like planning the big conferences. I mean, that there could be really fun, like social events tied to them where you can do themes and stuff, like you can do weddings. But I kind of like the like business networking aspect of it too, sort of the corporate side of things.
Totally agree.
With your speaking and your own personal brand, how did that get started, and how long have you been doing that?
Sure. So a couple of years now, and it basically was born in after I was just posting so many pictures of canapes and hotel rooms on my Instagram account. And I thought, well, actually, my friends and family probably don't want to see this anymore. So I thought, well, I'll just make another Instagram and stick events on the end of it. And then just started sharing different snippets and different insights. And then I thought, actually, I'd like to write a bit more than this caption can allow. Always love writing, so I decided to start a blog. And then I realized there was a sort of void in my life, which is going back to my performing days and being
Oh
up on stage and
yeah.
that buzz. But I think actually what I was craving wasn't necessarily being another character, it was playing the character of myself and just sharing my thoughts and my insights. So actively started looking for speaking opportunities, and now it's something that I do regularly. I'm doing a lot of it now virtually, but physically as well, and it's just something that I really enjoy. And building my personal brand, I'm such a huge advocate for anyone that does this. I think it's so important. It can
Yeah.
really bring opportunities, and you have a great personal brand too with what you've created, and it just sort of sets you apart as a thought leader in the industry. Or if you have a voice, everyone has a voice, use it, speak up, share what you believe in. It's so important.
Yeah, I would say too, like something that I don't think I've talked about too much, like on my own platforms, but I was a little bit intimidated because I don't have a background in performing arts. I think I took one theater class in high school, and I remember just like dreading going to that class and just being like so nervous about getting up and like speaking. I mean, I have a big voice and I worked in restaurants and stuff like that. We're having to be in front of people, but there was something different about like sitting in front of this camera and being like, I'm going to say some stuff and hopefully it like resonates with people and it's helpful. And so getting started with the event industry and this like platform I've developed has been definitely a little intimidating, but exciting. And it's gotten a lot easier over time. So I would echo what you're saying, like, people do need to do more of getting themselves out there and putting themselves out there and just like not being scared to like fail or like know that it's going to take time before you get comfortable or find, how you're going to structure things or say things or whatever. It's just going to take time. You're not just going to like jump on the camera and be like, I'm amazing. Like,
So true.
Totally don't feel nervous and like know what to say. No problem. It definitely takes some time, but then it can lead to some of the things that I've seen you do is speaking at national conferences that can help further your career, even if you don't have your own brand. But if you want to take higher leadership roles, like with working with other, you work with DMC or you're working with a catering company or wherever, or venue, working with a hotel, it definitely can help you really catapult your career too, to kind of, find avenues to use your voice too. So yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And it's just getting started, as you say, like the first Instagram story that you post speaking to video, you're going to feel really stupid, but then you've done it once and you will do it all the time. And like, I like to show the other side. So you'll see me at 5 a.m. with my coffee, or you'll see me walking through an airport, super jet lagged and whatever I'm doing, because it's important to show that, the hustle behind our industry, which people don't often know is there. They think it's just all glamour.
Yeah. It's all canapes and like, fun music experience. Well, I mean, not a lot right now, but before.
Yeah. Before this time.
In your 10 years of planning events, what has been like one of the most memorable events? Do you have like a couple that stick out that you're just like, oh my God, I can't believe like that happened. I was able to produce something that big or that, crazy with the components or whatever. I just think that there are things that we like end up doing or producing over time that we're like, oh my God, that was amazing and really kind of stick out.
Yeah, I think, well, going back to like my first starting points in the industry and working on some of these amazing events that I was just such a very small part of, they're all still stand out because it was such an important time in my life, and I feel like it really shaped me and my role in events. But actually in more recent times, I have to say the first international event that I worked on, the first conference that I ran in Singapore, was amazing. It was the first time I'd been to Asia. It was an incredible venue. It was a really great conference, and just knowing that as of this day, I'm now an international event manager, not just an event manager in the UK. It was kind of defining like that. So that was really exciting.
Were you intimidated by that? We were like,
I mean, there were challenges for sure.
Yeah.
Like, it's just understanding everything and different cultures and how everything works, and juggling jet lag and the long haul travel. It's new challenges for us all. But I'd have to say one event that's really going to stick in my mind for the rest of my career is probably the last event that I ran, which was mid-March in Washington, DC, just before we all went into lockdown. And, we just saw this shift and something was coming, and it did. And it was just like, I don't think I'll forget that anytime soon.
Yeah, well, maybe speak to that a little bit more. What happened with you guys were able to go through with the DC event?
Yeah, we went through with it safely. We sort of social distance a bit more, but it wasn't even like things were being introduced. People weren't even wearing masks yet. We had hand sanitizer everywhere. We were careful with our buffet stations and things, but it wasn't really like it is now, or not, how, because we didn't know, right? We didn't know the implications. There was just this nervousness around. Now we are at Chemical Watch really kind of well set up for hybrid events as we move forward, because we've actually always live streamed our conferences. So we were able to split and switch probably almost half of the attendees onto the live stream option. So essentially we ran a hybrid event without even realizing that now it's becoming such a huge trend as we begin to look forward out of lockdown. So it's quite interesting like that, but it was just, there was a lot of tension, a lot of nervousness, so many emails and phone calls, because we also had sort of events planned in other cities later that month, which were all going to get cancelled, but we didn't quite know it yet. And a crazy time to be in the world of events. That, we all know that, but yeah, that event was definitely an interesting one.
Yeah, March happened with weirdness, and I think a lot of us will vividly remember the last event that we produced, beginning of March, end of February for some of us, or the last event that we attended. There was a cocktail party I went to right before the lockdown, and I didn't stay for that long. And it was one where it was like a bunch of people I knew and industry people that were all there, and it was like, I just thought, I only want to stay for an hour. I've been gone all day. I wanted to get home and tuck my kids into bed. And I'm like, I just thought I'll just go to the next one, not knowing that there was not going to be a next one for like a really, really, really long time. And now I'm like, I wish I would have just stayed.
I know. I feel so guilty. Like, if anyone's listening, I've ever said no to coming to your event or hanging out with you, I'm so sorry. I'll never do it again.
Yes. What are you hosting? And me too. I'm like, what are you hosting? And it's whatever. You want to network? You want to have coffee? You want to what? I'm there.
Yeah. As long as it's not a Zoom quiz, I am there.
Those are the worst. Yes. Totally. Yeah. When everything opens back up, I'm going to everything. I can tuck my kids into bed like another night, we'll just shift and it'll be good. But I need to go see some more people. What kind of with your guys' hybrid events, I know this is kind of a side off question, like what kind of platform do you guys use?
So at the moment we're obviously running purely virtual. So it's still a learning curve. I mean, I'm sure I can name drop. At the moment we use Glisser, which works very well. It's very functional for what we need. And that's fine. But as we move forward, we obviously need to look at how we're going to integrate those two audiences, right, from all over the world, and how the people at home can have the same or as good, as strong an experience as those that are there in person. So there's going to be a lot of work that goes into that before we're using various sort of streaming sites and setups to live stream our events and have people join in with the question and answer sessions from wherever they were, or we've live streamed in speakers before if they've not been able to travel. But it's certainly a learning curve, but we're looking forward to it when we eventually are able to run our events again. And I think it's certainly going to be something everyone in events, certainly corporate, need to be looking at now if they haven't already.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think for us on the US side, or even you probably know this from some of your clients that you guys are working with, or events that you had to cancel for, in March or probably the rest of this year of like what the climate's looking like here for 2020. And I'm presuming the same, it's very similar in the UK too with your regulations.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're obviously there's so much pressure on right now because our hospitality industry is suffering so much.
Yeah.
It's so sad to see it happen, but we can't rush back into it. We can't rush into lifting all these restrictions. So I think it's important to sort of baby steps and introduce things as we can. And there are really important events and there are not so important events. And
Yeah.
attending a conference might not be absolutely vital in 2020. We're looking at reintroducing our first events in November, which will take place in the US. But everything's still up in the air, isn't it? We don't know how safe it's going to be. We don't know what's going to happen. So I think being agile and being prepared is really important at the moment.
No, absolutely. I think everyone that's watching right now can resonate with that too. Aside from like having to obviously incorporate, more virtual and more experience, something you spoke to was talking about, that interactive piece. And I think I've definitely experienced that before too, where prior to COVID, I've done some virtual events, but it was so secondary. It was like, we have constituents that are outside the United States. I was doing an event in San Francisco, and there were team members in London and Germany and Singapore and Shanghai that were all needing to like tune in. But it was kind of like someone was there just to answer Q&A, and that was it. It was a very minimal, kind of planning or interactive piece. And I think you were just touching upon something that like we really need to think about as planners and producers of like, it can't just be the turn it on, people view, sort of thing. And is there something that you guys have discovered like in the events that you're doing now that you want to kind of keep incorporating, or some things that you're thinking about as it pertains to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think everything that we're doing is based upon the content and led and driven by the content, because our events are about chemicals regulations. So it's not all sparkle and cocktail receptions and like live music and dance breaks. That would not work for us. But saying that, we still need to have that element of interaction and networking. So we're looking at the moment at content-led networking, things like expert level roundtables or focus groups on particular subject areas, because that's how our attendees like to connect. They like to connect through content and engaging with each other. So that's driven a lot of the decisions on which platform we use or how we're going to use these little breakout sessions that we're trying to plan, because it can't just be all like private messaging. Like, it's just a bit too salesy and a bit too like Tinder for what we need and how corporate we are, really. So we have to be really careful. So everything's led by the content, and we go from there, and we're speaking to our customers. I think that's something that a lot of people forget right now. I've been running focus groups with some of our key event customers and advocates and hearing what they want, and really getting to grips with the strategy behind our events, both virtual and physical. Now's a really good time to do that.
What is kind of the feedback, if there's anything that you can share of like what are they saying that they want?
Yeah, a lot of it is sort of interacting. So it's networking, but as I say, sort of content-led networking. So they want to be able to ask experts questions, almost more so than getting to chat with each other. And they want to be able to access content on demand. So that's something that we look at, having our content available after the events for some time so people can go back into it. That's really important. And just accessibility and being able to like see those presentation slides and have everything ready for them. We've learned that actual virtual delegates need a lot of hand-holding, and we're doing walkthrough videos and we're doing as much support. We have someone on the day in our team who is just dedicated to customer service and answering queries. They don't have like event specific roles apart from that. And that's what we need to give. We have people that I had someone call and said, oh, it's not working, the platform doesn't work. And I asked them which internet browser they were using. And they said, well, I don't know. How do I know that? So you can't forget, some people just aren't used to this virtual world, and you have to help them.
I mean, and even when it comes to executives too, I mean, this is not just, I think that everybody has like a learning curve with some of these platforms, and some of them like Zoom, they're getting more comfortable with because everybody's using them, but there are, the market's really flooded, or starting to get flooded with, conference ones, and some of them are easier to navigate or have things that are integrated or seem like, the connection of like where I click this opens sort of stuff. And sometimes it's not. I mean, even for myself that is hosting things like this, like sometimes the integration is sometimes a little, even Zoom, Zoom was changing the regulations on like whether you entered a password or a meeting ID, so things are changing like every day, and platforms are kind of working out kinks. So I think we're all at a learning curve, even though those of us that are like not super tech savvy too. So yeah. It's challenging, but it brings up a good point, is like, as a planner, like, that it's not like the role of us is like completely, non-existent. And I think that sometimes becomes like a misconception for like some companies or people that want to produce virtual events, is that like you're just like turn it on and like talking to the camera and then like that's it, like there's not which is not that simple, unfortunately. I mean, you could do that, but it's not very impactful, and doesn't drive home some of the things that you were just speaking to, of like what the attendee is going to expect or want to take away. And does that like help fulfill the goals of whether it's education or, sales or whatever the goal is for that corporate event, or that experience. Like that all has to be integrated with the event itself too. So
for sure.
Anyhow, I get really passionate talking about that because I'm like, there's a role for us in virtual events for sure.
Definitely. Yeah. We're important.
When it comes to like small gathering stuff, are there anything that in your market or anything that you're seeing of any revival of small gatherings coming together, with like social distancing, or are you experiencing any of that yet?
No. There are things beginning to lift in the UK. So something that's happening at the moment is, I think it's from the beginning of July, we can have like drive-through experiences. So, which is quite interesting. So it's going to take us back to those like days of like Greece, where it's all drive-in movies, and but it's quite interesting because I've seen a few events go out on Facebook, and they're suddenly getting thousands of people wanting to sign up because it's the first kind of interaction. But like at the moment, the restrictions are kind of a little difficult. So from next week, you'll be able to go to some more shops, but then you still can't like go and give your mum a hug. So people are getting a bit confused about all that. So I think small gatherings will come in, but they're going to be like 10 people, outdoor only, socially distant. So we're staying clear of that for now with what we do, and just sort of waiting until we can host slightly bigger hybrid events. We don't actually run anything in the UK apart from a few small training courses. I don't organise anything in the UK. It's all international.
Oh, okay.
So we have to be quite well versed in what's happening across the world and how that affects the different stakeholders, like speakers that we fly in or attendees and ourselves.
Just so much to kind of get versed on. I was speaking to a colleague yesterday because I typically in November organize a large festival here in San Diego, and we're very unsure of like what regulations are going to be for large gatherings. Like last year there was about 70,000 people that attended over a 3-day period, and obviously that sounds like, just completely absurd in today's climate to even like fathom what would be entailed with that. And we were just speaking to like, what are, in terms of the United States, like CDC hasn't put out any guidelines for large festivals, even for thousands of people gatherings, whether it's a festival or even like a large corporate event, which could sometimes have a couple thousand people at it, especially when you're doing conferences and so forth. And then also what the liability could be, I mean, there is, one factor of like, okay, well, is this permittable sort of, or is it gray area? But then what do you get into when it comes down to liability too? And I don't know. It just seems very uncertain of like what's even going on from city to city in California and then state to state, and then you have to think about country to country. I mean, it just seems like just crazy things to try to follow, and what's really the right protocol as it continually changes.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm actually, at the moment, I'm supposed to be attending an event in San Diego as a delegate. It's a personal development conference in August, which hasn't been cancelled yet. I'm sure it will be. But that's a shame. It's Rachel Hollis's Rise conference. I wanted to go for years, but yeah, I was down to go to that. So kind of interesting to hear what's going on over in California too.
Is she still going forward with that, or did she transition that to virtual yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
But then there might be kind of waiting for force majeure or any kind of venue things. So there's lots to think about.
Yes, that's a good point. Yeah, I had to deal with that for a client too, is that we just had to keep waiting until it was like closer to the event date that we could announce the cancellation, because if it was not permittable in the state, then we were able to get a refund on the deposits. So
exactly.
Ugh. So let's talk about something more exciting. Sorry to drive us down that. I mean, it is a reality, but I do feel like there's exciting stuff happening for events, especially in a virtual world. Last night, part of the partnership that I have, aside from my own companies, is a virtual event collective, and we did a gala for MPI, so Meetings Professional International, and their chapter in San Diego, and it was really exciting. I'm going to post a video later today. Like, I took some video. We had, at the end of the program, there was like these swing dancers and a live band, and we were inside the studio recording it, and I took some video because it actually felt like, for the first time, like a real live event for a second, and it was exciting, and it was like, oh my gosh, that feeling of I don't know, just the music and the lighting and the decor and everything else. I just really missed all of those elements and didn't realize how much I had missed it. So
yeah. So true. I can't wait to see the videos. It sounds exciting.
Yeah, it was really fun. I mean, just makes me like think I can't wait for things to open back up, because it was kind of like forlorn of like, oh, I didn't know what I had missed, but now here it is, and it's really exciting. Are there anything that you're looking forward to, and the virtual stuff that you're producing, or stuff that you have coming up?
Yeah, I think at the moment I'm working on a conference which is in a couple of weeks. It's just a half-day virtual conference, but it's a new area for us. So we're really looking forward to doing that. It's had a really good response. Had a briefing call with the speakers last night, and they're all amazing. So yeah, we're excited about that one. But I think I'm the same as you. Like, I'm really craving that connection and that sort of buzz that you cannot replicate from live events. And I miss the departure terminal, I miss flights being delayed, I miss going to Starbucks. Like, I miss it all. I miss it all.
You too. Yeah. Well, there's just a rush. And I think I've been doing events now for almost 17 years, or maybe it's past 7. I don't even know. I just turned 30. I don't know how many years, but a really long time I've been doing this. And there's an adrenaline rush that happens for the day of the event. When you plan everything and it all comes together, and like the music comes on, and like, it's all coming together, and people are going to arrive, and they're going to experience everything that you've envisioned and been planning and thinking through. And it's just amazing. So I totally miss that feeling for sure. And we've kind of been able to replicate this a little bit in the virtual setting. And it's nice to have the studio that we're working within, because it definitely helps us, kind of invoke those sorts of feelings, especially us in house, but I'm hoping it kind of translates online too a little bit more. Not the sights and the smells that you can get, and the sensory stuff, but definitely closest to.
Yeah.
Well, as it pertains to like some of the, your blog, and also the community group and the coaching stuff that you have created, is there advice for planners that you are kind of putting together or working on, or would give to kind of our colleagues right now at this time, and even for the future?
Yeah, support each other. It's as simple as that. Like, I wake up every day super grateful to still be working and still have my job. And I completely never take that for granted. And I know I have friends and colleagues in the industry who have not been that lucky. But
Yeah.
I'm actually finding that, this is a perfect example. I'm connecting with someone that I've followed and engaged with for some time, but never had that chance to
Yeah.
have that conversation and reach out. And I'm finding that even some lunch breaks, I just kind of get chatting to someone, and then we just hop on a video call, and I find out more about what they do for work and where they are in the world. And we do need to look after each other and support each other, and not just from like a, are you okay? That's the most important thing. But then things like accountability, which is one of the reasons I set up Event Goal Getters, to have that community, because so many people are saying, I've got all these goals, but I just can't stay on track, and I just want that support network. And it's all that. It's just looking out for each other. Like, I have a 5 a.m. club with two of my friends, and we're like checking on each other. We're making sure that we're productive in the mornings, and it's all about support. We're our industry is built upon people and memories and moments, and we need to be there for each other. A lot of us are extroverts, and we're craving that attention, and no one ever checks up on the extroverts. So yeah, look out for each other.
So true. Tell me more about this 5 a.m. club. Is it similar to like the thing that that Rachel Hollis talks about, like how she wakes up at 5 a.m. and gets her day going?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's just I've always been a morning person, an early bird, but I think because I have like a side hustle and I have creative stuff that I like working on, it's just maximizing the morning motivation. And I'm not preaching this for, like, oh my
No.
goodness, there's people that will never be able to do that. But also, like, I'm not productive at 11 p.m. at night, which some people get their best work done then. So we're all different, but I've always said, whenever your morning starts, whether it's 5 a.m. or 9 a.m., those couple of hours can be so productive. They can be so magical, the stuff that you can create when you really kind of go into it, whether that is going for a walk and thinking about something, or listening to a podcast, or doing a workout, doing a yoga class, reading. Just make the most of it. So yeah, and just having a little group to support you and kind of chat about, and it's just waking up and knowing, oh, I just want to check in now with my friends and make sure they're all good, they're all happy this morning.
I need that too. I don't know if I think when I tell my friends that I do wake up at 5 and sometimes 4:30, and I started doing it because I have 2 small kids, and it was like the time that I could get before they woke up. And Rachel Hollis speaks to this too. And I was like, oh my God, that's me too. It was basically so I plan my day, have a little time to meditate or work out, or just get things organized before, kids wake up and there's things and stuff to do. Cause I was definitely not a morning person before kids. And now having kids, I'm like, yeah, I like to wake up by 5, to get going. But same to you, I'm not productive after like 8 o'clock like that. I'm not doing really much work. I really shouldn't be emailing, because like I'm just not don't have my wits about me, and it's not as clear,
Exactly. I love that you're a Rachel Hollis fan too.
I just love her stuff. She did a video a couple weeks ago where she was just like, she was very raw and real about how she just wanted to get out of the house. And she was talking about how her kids like just want to eat, and it's snack time, and then it's lunchtime. And I was like, oh, and then that she would go do anything. She was like, I would go to the gynecologist. Like, she was like, I would go anywhere right now. I just thought, like, it kind of spoke to what we were saying earlier too, is that like, yeah, there's us that are extroverts that like to be out and moving and stuff, and are okay, that we are safe, and we're able to work from home, we're able to still work, and all of those things, and totally grateful. But that, we're just like, we like to be out moving and going and doing a bunch of things. And that's why we chose like the professions that we chose, because it calls for that all the time, every week. So a little bit lost sometimes when we don't have that hustle,
Yeah, definitely. I've lived my life 100 miles an hour, and like, yes, I've learned how to slow down, but I've also needed to repurpose my time in different ways so that I'm still, using those skills and that way that my brain is wired.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to link to both your, make sure that I link to your blog and your Go-Getter group too. So if anybody's interested in kind of finding out more information about what you've got going on, they can check it out. And it was just really great talking to you and hearing about what you've been working through and all the positive ways that you've kind of reconfigured everything. So just thank you for taking some time out tonight to talk to me, or night your time, morning me.
Yeah, it's nighttime. Well, not nighttime, it's like 6:30. But no, thank you for having me. It's been so lovely to chat to you. And yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out. I'm always here.
All right, Juliet. Well, thank you again for your time, and good luck with everything you have going on.
Thank you, you too.
All right, bye for now.
Bye.